Okay, welcome back to political science session number 3 today. So in the morning session, we started discussion on the chapter executive, and we discussed about different types of governments in different countries. Basically, their executives are performing different functions basically. So literally speaking, so the functions are the same, but the positions are different, and the powers of these people, the head of the executive, that also different. So we discussed about the parliamentary form of democracy and the powers of the executive there, and the presidential form of democracy and the powers of executive. The same time, semi-presidential system. Okay, and now in this class, basically we are going to discuss about the parliamentary system, or the permanent or parliamentary executive in India. India, so the combination of both the political and the permanent executive, combination of both the permanent and political executive. Okay, so when the Constitution of India was written, India already had some experience of running a government. Okay, we already know that there are two rules that made by the Britishers in the year 1919 and 1935. These rules are known as the Indian Act of 1919 and Indian Act of 1935. Okay, so as per this, Indians already experienced the parliamentary system of governance. This experience has shown that the parliamentary system, the executive can be effectively controlled by the representatives of the people. In this system, basically the executive, okay, can be effectively controlled by the representatives of the legislature. I mean the people, right? So executive is under the control of the legislature at that time. The makers of the Indian Constitution wanted to ensure that the government would be sensitive to public expectation and would be responsible and accountable. Okay, so after independence, in 1919, Indian Act of 1919 and Indian Act of 1935, that created or that made some changes in the Constitution, or Constitution in the sense of the British Constitution that created to rule the country called India, or our country, right? Okay, but that provisions or that policies are not that efficient for a country called India. Okay, after independence, that came to know or understood by the makers of the Indian Constitution. So they created some changes in that setup. Okay, clear. While they're writing the Constitution, they added provision to give some powers to the legislature. As per that, the legislature of the people, they're able to control the executive, because we know that there are three different organs are there for the government: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Okay, basically we can say all these three are staying in three different watertight compartments, right? So some relation also are there between these groups, I mean these organs there. So here the other alter here, the executive can be effectively controlled by the representatives of the people. The makers of the Indian Constitution wanted to ensure the government would be sensitive to the public. Okay, so they created rules and regulations like that. The government should be sensitive and it should be accountable to the people. Okay, clear. The executive should give answer to the questions of the people. It is accountable, legitimate, and transparent. Okay, it should be a transparent government. But the presidential executive, sorry, okay, the other alternative of the parliamentary executive was the presidential form of government, but the presidential executive puts much emphasis on the president as the chief executive as a source of executive power. So the parliamentary system, we know that the government is responsible to the people, but in the presidential system, the executive is headed by the president, but he is not accountable to the people or to the legislature. Okay, just keep that idea in your mind. Okay, there is always the danger of personality cult in presidential executive. So that particular individual, okay, he will decide, clear or not. So as per his whims and caprice, sometimes, okay, his moods and attitudes, he can take a decision. Sometimes it might be good one, or sometimes it will be a bad one to the development of the country or welfare of the people. So trouble is there along with the presidential system. Okay, but at the same time, that's why Indian constitution makers, they give importance for the parliamentary system of government in India. Okay, The makers of the Indian Constitution wanted the government that would have a strong executive branch, but at the same time, enough safeguards should be there to check against the personality cult. Okay, the government is not related with an individual. Clear? Understand? So individual is not that powerful. The legislature, the lawmaking body, and all the members of the legislature is accountable to the people. So India have that kind of setup, not a particular individual. But coming to the case of America, the American president is all powerful, right? Always we are listening to the names of that president and his secretaries of different affairs, right? But coming to India, related with the different news, related with different affairs, we are able to listen the names of different ministers, right? Health minister, home minister, okay, defense minister, railway minister, finance minister, like that. Various ministers are there. Basically, they are controlling. So a collective responsibility is there for all these people to the government and to the people. Okay, clear? Understanding or not? That's what the importance of parliamentary setup. Okay, so in the parliamentary form, there are many mechanisms that ensure that the executive will answerable to and controlled by the legislature or people representatives. Okay, so we can say in the parliamentary system, basically that executive is controlled by the legislature. So executive cannot impose or force the people to accept any rule and regulation without the consent of the legislature. Your legislature only creating the rules and regulation. Executive don't have any power to create any rules there. Okay, the rules that made by the legislature, the only duty of the executive is to enforce that. Okay, just enforce that, nothing more than that. Okay, but at the same time, enough safeguards should be there to check against the personality cult. The parliamentary form, there are many mechanisms that ensure that the executive will be answerable to answerable to and controlled by the legislature or people's representatives. So the constitution adopted the parliamentary system of executive for the governments, both at the national and state levels. Underline that. So the constitution adopted the parliamentary system of executive for the governments both at the national and state level. So we know that we are following a federal system, more than 2 levels of the government. Clear? Central government is there. I mean, in India, it is called as the Union Government of India, the central government. And state governments, number of state governments are there related with the number of the states and union territory. Okay, special governments are there for the union territories. Clear? And local self-government, but the system is almost the same. Okay, the legislature is the people or the group of people, the representatives, they will create the rules and regulation. The role of the executive to just to enforce that. So maximum power or more power with the elected representatives, they are representing the legislature. Clear or not? Are you able to understand? These points are okay? Is that clear? Hello, can you hear me? Hello. If these ideas are okay or not?
Sir.
Yeah, fine. So the constitution adopted the parliamentary system of executive for the governments, both in the national and state level. According to this system, there's a president who is the formal head of the state. That important aspect it is. The president is there. He is the formal head of the state. Formal. Okay, head of the state. Clear. But following ceremonial powers, not the actual power. The power is nominal or ceremonial So I already told you that basically media will use the term. What is that? Rubber stamp post. Clear or not? There is no much powers. At the same time, we want to know one more thing, that the president of India is considering as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That power also is there. If there is no government in the central level, if there is no state government in the state levels, that time all power will go to the hands of the president. He is considering as the most powerful personality in the country at the time of emergency, or any trouble is there in the country, any political troubles are there, stagnation of governance, something like that happen. That time the whole power of the country or the executive powers will go to the hands of the president. That is another thing. Okay, we will discuss that also. Okay. According to the system, there is a president who is the formal head of the state in India, and the prime minister. Next page. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, which run the government at the national level, at the state level. The executive comprises the governor and the chief minister and the Council of Ministers. So, governor. So, in each states we are able to find the governor, right? The central level is a president. For the state legislature, governor is there, directly appointed by the president of India, right? Governor. So today, if you're observing the news, okay, the final summit of the state legislature is going on in Trivandrum. Okay, final summit in the sense, this present government's the final summit. Okay, so just observe the news here today. Just observe the news channels or read the newspaper tomorrow. You will get some information about the governor and his speech on the policy creation of the state, something like that. Okay, so number of newses will be there in the next day's newspaper. I mean tomorrow's newspaper. Just read that and understand what happened today. Okay, so the governor will be there and the chief minister and the council of ministers in the state. Okay, state cabinet, central level president, prime minister and the cabinet ministers, right? And coming to state level, governor, chief minister and the cabinet ministers of the state. Clear? Cabinet ministers of the state. Almost the same structure. In the central level, it is the president, and coming to the state is the governor. Okay, just below the governor is the chief minister, the head of the government. Clear? Head of the state government. It is the chief minister. Okay, clear? Is that clear or not? This is the structure of our governance in India. The Constitution of India vests the executive power of the union formally in the president. In reality, the president exercises these powers through the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. So the Constitution, as per the Constitution, the executive powers are with the president, but president enjoying this power with the help of the minister. So the Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister. The president is elected for a period of 5 years in India, but there is no direct election by the people for the office of president. Okay, so write down what are the procedures to elect the president of India. Okay, or what are the powers of the president of India, that we will discuss in the next paragraph. Just write down the procedure to elect the president of India. So it is not a direct election anymore in India. Clear? Anymore in the sense of since independence, we followed this system only because there is no direct election to elect the president. Okay, it is called the indirect election. Indirect election. The president is elected for a period of 5 years, but there is no direct election to the by the people for the office of the president. The president is elected indirectly. This means that the president is elected not by the ordinary citizen, but by the elected MLAs and MPs. Okay, so only the elected MLAs from the state legislature, MPs from the union, I mean the parliament, and MLCs, member of legislative councils, only that people have the right to vote for or cast their vote to elect the president of the country. Okay, this election take place in accordance with the principle of proportional representation. So already we studied that. For Lok Sabha, we are conducting FPTP, first past the post system. First past the post system. But in India, we are following the PR system also. It's called to be the proportional representation. Proportional representation. This system is basically related with the election for Rajya Sabha members and to choose the president and the vice president of India. Vice president of India. Only MLAs, MPs, and MLCs have the right to vote here. Okay. The president can be removed from office only by the parliament by following the procedure of impeachment, right? Impeachment. Okay. So what we can say, the government want to make the president away from his power, that procedure is called to be the impeachment. What is that? Impeachment. Okay. Dragging the president down from the power or pushing him out from the power, that is basically termed as impeachment. Okay, so this procedure requires a special majority as explained in the last chapter. So I already told you that 2/3 majority is needed in the state legislature and even in the central legislature. The only ground of impeachment is a violation of the constitution. In India, if you want to make or want to take the president down or push him away from the power, he wanted to violate the constitution. Clear? he is not violating, so there is no provision to make him away from the power. Clear? Understanding or not? Until and unless he is not violating the constitution, there is no provision is there to keep him away from the power. Okay, so moving forward. Next one, power and position of the president. Power and the position of the president. That's what the next topic for you people. Okay, here, Article 74(1) in the Constitution, there shall be a council of ministers with the Prime Minister at the head to avoid and advise the President who shall not the exercise, who shall in the exercise of his function act in accordance with such advice. So there shall be a council of ministers. Okay, so President is always act as per the advices of the council of ministers. Okay, always act as per the advices, provided that the president may require the council of ministers to reconsider such advice, and the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such a reconsideration. Okay, so always you will observe it clearly, the advices of the council of ministers. Okay, clear? And he will send it back for a reconsideration also. Okay, again the ministers want to check it again. Okay, finally the president can approve it. Again the ministers or council of ministers are staying in the same stand, the president won't accept it. Next one, do you know what the word shall means here? Shall. Okay, here you can see here, there shall be. Okay, so what is the meaning of the term shall here? You can see Article 74.1, there shall be. Okay, that's what the shall here. It indicates that the advice is binding on the president in view of the controversy about the scope of president's powers. The specific mention was made in the constitution by an amendment that the advice of the council of ministers will be binding on the president. By another amendment made later, it was decided that the president cannot ask the council of ministers to reconsider its advice, but has to accept the reconsidered advice of the council of ministers. Okay, so the president want to listen the words of the council of ministers or want to act as per the advices that made by the council of ministers. But sometime the president can mark his what you can say, sometimes he is not able to or not willing to adjust with that or accept it, so he can ask the ministers to reconsider, recheck it. Okay, recheck the advices. Okay, clear or not? Again the ministers are staying in the same stand. What is that? The president don't accept it. There is no way for the president to avoid the advice of the council of ministers. Okay, so we can say that there are powers, more powers are there for the council of ministers than the president. In India, the prime minister is powerful, or the council of ministers, they are powerful. Give me a moment. Okay, next one. We have already seen that president is the formal head of the government in this formal sense. Write down the question here, the powers of the president of India. Powers of the president of India. What are the powers of the president of India and how he is functioning, how the president office is functioning. Okay, here the president has wide-ranging executive, legislative, judicial, and emergency powers. Clear? The president is the person, he is the nominal head of the country. Okay, the same time he has wide-ranging powers with him. What type of powers? Executive powers are there with the president. Legislative powers are with the president. Judicial powers are with the president. Emergency powers also are there with the president. Okay, if a council of ministers, a government is there in the central level, that time we can say that the powers of the government, it is nominal, but there is no central government. In some special situations, all these powers like legislative, executive, judicial, emergency powers will go to the hands of the president of the country. Okay, so these powers are in reality used by the president only on the advice of the council of ministers. Another one. Okay, when the government the president want to use these things there with the consent of the Council of Ministers. Consent of the Council of Ministers are necessary to perform these powers. Clear? The Council of Ministers want to say to the President that to use his powers, that time he can. Okay, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers have support of the majority in the Lok Sabha, and they are the real executive. So we can say the real executive means the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are considering as the real executive of the country. Okay, in most of the cases, the President has to follow the advice of the Council of Ministers. Okay, in most of the cases, the President of the country, basically India, he want to follow the advices of the Council of Ministers, I mean the real executive. So here Jawaharlal Nehru's one comment he said, we did not give him any real power, but we have made his position one of the authority and dignity. The constitution want to create neither a real executive nor a mere figurehead, but a head that neither resigns nor governs. It want to create a great figurehead, which means the president is there. Okay, it's a nominal head of the country. Okay, he is able to exercise the powers, but always it is under the power of the executive only. But in some cases, if it is possible, if it is necessary, if it is needed, that time the president can use such powers, his legislative, executive, judicial, and emergency powers. Next one, discretionary powers of the president. Okay, discretionary powers of the president. So sometimes president can take a decision as per his own attitude or his own mentality. Clear? Sometimes he don't want to, or some special cases he don't want to listen or the Council of Ministers there. On what condition or what circumstances he can discretionary powers there. You can observe here, on the basis of above discussion, can we infer that the president have no discretionary powers under any circumstances? This will be an incorrect state assessment. Okay, so discretionary powers are there for the president. What are they? Constitutionally, the president have the right to be informed of all important matters and deliberations of the Council of Ministers. Right? Clear? As per the Constitution, the Council of Ministers want to inform the president related with the all important decisions. Clear? Or all important matters. If it is not so, what will happen here? Okay. The Prime Minister is obliged to furnish all the information that the President may call for. The President often writes to the Prime Minister and express his views on matters confronting the country. So, if a President asks the Prime Minister to give the detail about the present issues of the country, okay, the Prime Minister want to provide that. The next one, he can write to the Prime Minister, okay, related with the problem that basically the government and the country facing. The Prime Minister can, the President can do that. Okay, the last week there was a writing or a newspaper report by the former President of India, Pranab Mukherjee. In that statement or in that article, he wrote one statement. What is that? You know that demonetization, right? Heard about demonetization? What is that demonetization? Any idea? Any idea about demonetization? No idea. So you know that present day, the currency notes what we are using, okay, it came to existence just before 4 years. Just before 4 years, the 2000 rupees note and 500 rupees note what we are using today. Even the new 100 rupees, 20 rupees, 10 rupees, what we can say, the 200 rupees notes. Okay, before 4 years, those notes was not in circulation. Okay, that time we used the old 1000 rupees notes and other type of 500 rupee note. Clear? One day, November 8 of 2016, the government banned it. Government banned that. Clear? That process is known as demonetization. But Pranab Mukherjee wrote, what is that? The Council of Ministers or the Prime Minister, they didn't or they're not informed that particular matter to the President of India. Okay, he wrote it. So it is against the Constitution, right? Is that against the Constitution? Of course. As per the rules in the Constitution, the Council of Ministers want to inform such kind of things to the President. Okay. So besides this, there are at least 3 situations where the President can exercise the powers using his or her own discretion. In the first place, we have already noted that the president can send back the advice given by the council of ministers and ask the council to reconsider the decision. Okay, that's a discretionary power of the president. Okay, he can send back the advice to the council of ministers for a reconsideration. That's his power. Okay, clear. The president want to sign in the document, then only the suggestion or a bill will become a law. President's signature is compulsory. Okay, because he is the guardian of the constitution, right? Or guardian of the republic. So his signature is necessary to make a bill into an law or a rule. Okay, so the council of ministers will send a bill to the president to sign in that. So president will resend back or send back that to the council of ministers for reconsideration. Means it is the power of the president. Okay, but number of times the council of ministers sending the same bill, the president want to sign in that, there is no choice for the president. Okay, clear. When the president thinks that the advice has certain flaws or legal laws, so some troubles are there in the advice that given by the ministers, or that it is not in the best interest of the country, so or that rule is not that good for the people of the country, the president can ask the council to reconsider the decision. Although the council can still send back the same advice, and the president would then be bounded to be the advice. Again, the council of ministers sending the same advice, he won't accept it. Such a request by the president to reconsider the decision would naturally carry a lot of weight. Okay, so this is one way in which the president can act as his own discretion. One. Okay. Secondly, the president also has the veto power by which he can withhold or refuse or give assent to bills other than money bill passed by the parliament. Assent. Okay, every bill passed by the parliament goes to the president for his assent before it becomes a law. Underline that. The president can send the bill back to the parliament asking it to reconsider the 1 minute. Okay, reconsider the bill. This veto power is limited because if the parliament passes the same bill again and send it back to the president, then the president has to give an assent, agree. I mean, he want to agree. Okay, however, there is no mention in the constitution about the time limit within which the president must send back for reconsideration. This means that the president can just keep the bill pending with him without any time limit. This gives the president an informal power to use the veto in very effective manner. This is sometimes referred as a pocket veto. Sometimes the president can keep the bill with him without taking any decision or without giving any assent. Okay, so that kind of veto power is basically termed as pocket veto. Then the third kind of discretion arises more out of the political circumstances. So third kind of discretionary power for the president is related with the political circumstances, political situations in the country. Okay, formally, the president appoints the prime minister. Normally, in the parliamentary system, a leader who has the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha would be appointed as the prime minister, and the question of discretion would not arise. But imagine a situation when after an election, no leader has a clear majority in the Lok Sabha. So, no political party have a clear majority in the Lok Sabha. Imagine further that after attempts to forge alliances, 2 or 3 leaders are claiming that they have to support of the majority in the house. Now the president has the decide whom to appoint as the prime minister. Okay, so that time president can decide. The political parties can demand to become or to create the government there if there is no majority for one particular political party. Okay, in such a situation, the president has to use his own discretion in judging who really may have the support of the majority or who can actually form and run the government. So it is the discretionary power of the president to appoint the prime minister. Since 1989, major political challenges have considerably increased the importance of the presidential office. In the 4 parliamentary, parliament elections held from 1989 and to 1998, no single party or coalition attained majority attained a majority in the Lok Sabha. So that time president, he used his discretionary power to appoint the prime minister. Appoint the prime minister. Clear? Okay, so listen one more time, everyone. Listen carefully. Textbook, from the textbook. Now you write the question: the powers of the president, the discretionary powers of the president. Okay, discretionary powers of the president. What are they, and how the president is using his discretion? I mean, discretionary power. Write the question. Okay, so today we discussed about the powers of executive, the organs of the government at the first stage, discussed about the legislature, we discussed about the executive, and we discussed about the, what you can say, the judiciary. Clear? Next, we discussed about the different democratic parliamentary systems in different countries there. Okay, clear? Parliamentary system and presidential system. Basically, we can say that the structure of the executive, as related with that we studied about the parliamentary democracy, presidential democracy, semi-presidential democratic system. Okay, the powers of the head of the state and head of the government, powers of the head of the states and head of the governments. Okay, learn that properly for tomorrow. Read the textbook, that is compulsory. 2-3 boxes are there. Okay, that we missed to read here in this classroom. So you just read that. I will ask questions from that. If it is possible, you can create questions out of that paragraphs. Okay, because for the examination, paragraph question will be there. I mean the passage based. Okay, case based. Clear? Questions are there. So it is compulsory to read those questions, I mean those paragraphs before the examination. Okay, so what are these? We can say that. Next, one more thing we will read it and finish that. The vice president of India. Clear? So the vice president is elected for 5 years. His election method is similar to that of the president. The only difference is that members of state legislature are not part of the electoral college. The vice president may be removed from his office by a resolution. So write down the procedure to elect the vice president. The vice president may be removed from his office by a resolution of the Rajya Sabha, passed by a majority and agreed by the Lok Sabha. The vice president acts as the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha and takes over the office of the president when there is a vacancy by the reason of death, resignation, removal by impeachment or otherwise. The vice president acts as the president only until a new president is elected. Okay, so about the vice president of India, you have to learn that properly. Okay, so I am winding up the session now. Please read all those things properly and we will meet in the next class. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.